Hello there again, and welcome to another video of Jonathan's Coaster Reviews. Today, I'll be ranking another park, and this time it's Hershypark. So, with this park, I've been there 3 times. Once when I was super young, when I was like a little kid, I don't remember from there. Once with my camp group, and then this past September, recently, I went there with my family. Each time I didn't do all the rides, but I've done the rides on different times I went there, and I know how they rank. So I will be giving my full thoughts and my rankings in this video. And feel free to comment below your opinion. And now number 13 is Coca Cruiser, and all I can say about this is it's a Zamperla family gravity coaster. And Zamperla family gravity coasters suck. They're shit. Like, they are just so tight. It feels so tight and it just jerks you around. It's uncomfortable. It's just not a fun time. It is not a good ride. It is just a kiddie coaster. Of course, every park will rank 13 or the lowest because I absolutely hate this coaster model. Now let's move on. Actually, now it's Wild Mouse. Yeah, this is probably like the most painful Wild Mouse I've been on. Those turns are just slam you around. They're really painful. And you just get slammed around back and forth the whole ride. The only thing I kind of liked is the drops. You did get that kind of what I describe as a stomach hop. I would call it a stomach hop. But just like it throws you around forwards, backwards, side to side violently. It's just not a fun time. It's kind of painful. And then next is another painful ride, and this is and there's a lot of the low rankings here are very rough rides and bad rides in this park. This is Wildcat, so this coaster it's just rough. It's the first GCI, so maybe I shouldn't be so critical. But the whole ride, it's like you're sitting on a jackhammer. You're getting just shakes you throughout the whole ride. You're just shaking violently. And I agree with everyone who says this coaster should be RMC'd. This definitely should be RMC'd. Like Hershypark, why? Why you get a B&M Hyper instead of RMCing Wildcat? I was really hoping they said there was going to be a big announcement. I was really hoping they were going to RMC Wildcat, because RMCs, of course, are better than B&M Hypers. But, like, they do a B&M Hyper. Like, here's what I think they should do. Just RMC Wildcat first. That's a gap in your lineup. That's what you need. It could be potentially one of the best rides in the whole park. Even, like, beating Skyrush, maybe, if they make the layout really good and they make the elements really good and they make it a really good ride. Because this has so much good RMC potential. And then, if you have the money left, you add the new entrance in the B&M Hyper, because this is what they really need, is RMC Wildcat. Not another hypercoaster. They already have Skyrush. And some people say, oh, Skyrush is just about the intensity and the banks and the ejector airtime. But still, there's a hypercoaster. You need an RMC Wildcat. They should have done that. Now, I should stop ranting and just get on with this video, because I've been ranting a lot here. And then next at number 10 is Sidewinder. So this definitely, I do not like Vekoma boomerangs, even though when I was little I used to be obsessed with them. But this one, like, is my favorite, because I hate Vekoma boomerangs, and this one's bad, even though it's my favorite. It's still bad because I hate Vekoma boomerangs. This one is actually probably the roughest Vekoma boomerang. I hate it, but I mean not hate it. The roughest Vekoma boomerang. Sorry for my choice of words. Excuse me there. This is probably the roughest Vekoma boomerang I have ridden. Because, like, the track here is really rough. But this has the vest restraints. Now, here's another issue I had with the headbang. I did get headbanging. I don't know why everyone says, oh, the headbanging is just back and forth between the restraints. No, even though the back had padding and those restraints, and there were no hard over-the-shoulder restraints, still, like, the head went back and forth, and it was a little uncomfortable, like, violently. And the track was really rough itself, and some people say boomerangs are forceful. They're really not. They're really not good rides. Only in Vertigos, the Invertigos are super forceful. Like, Invertigo at Kings Island was very forceful. This one is just not that great, because it's just a Vekoma boomerang, plus they have it everywhere. So that's why it ranks so low. And then number 9 is Trailblazer. This is the park's Aero Mine Train. And it's really not about the thrills. It's about the views, and the other rides before this were rough. This is glossy smooth, actually, surprisingly for an aero coaster. I found it to be glossy smooth. And it's not super intense or anything, but at least it's not painful like the lower coasters on this list. So that's why it ranks number 9. Actually, number 8, it may surprise some of you, is actually Lightning Racer. So I heard really good things about this ride, and people were saying that it's super good, it has good airtime, it's fast-paced, it's intense, and they love the dueling. Yes, the dueling is kind of cool, but, like, it just didn't really do anything for me. Like, the whole ride, it was kind of rough. It was not rough in a good way. And, like, I like roughness on wooden coasters, but this is just, like, out of hand. At least it's not as bad as Wildcat, but it's still kind of rough and shaky. The roughness on this ride is not good. I like the old vintage rough wooden coasters, at least if it's not too rough and jackhammering. But this is just like the whole ride is just boring. You don't feel anything. And like those airtime hills are huge, and like every hill I've been waiting to get airtime, and like there isn't any. Like there's no airtime. I was just disappointed. Like every hill before I was gonna go across every hill, I was like, oh, here's some airtime. No, I didn't get the airtime. I'm like, what the heck? There's no airtime. Even the airtime hills for Mystic Timbers, which is another GCI coaster, and there's like smaller airtime hills than this, and I still got pretty good airtime on that. But this, like, there's like no airtime. Just ridiculous, and it's just boring. It didn't do anything. That's why I'm ranking it really low, because it just disappointed me. And other people say it's the best GCI. I don't know who they're coming from. This just didn't do it for me. That's all I have to say. And then number 7 is Super Duper Looper. This actually surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting that drop to give as much airtime as it did, and I got that stomach hop feeling too. The drop had some pretty good airtime. That loop is really intense. You were pulling some really good G's. And the rest of the ride is not super intense, but it's just scenic and fun. Just a fun ride. That's all I have to say. Better than the other coasters that are lower than this, that's for sure. And here it is. This is Laugh Track. Now, I am a big fan of indoor coasters, but this was too light for me anyway. But I really like the ride itself. I didn't really like the indoor atmosphere as much, and I really don't like the theme. It seems too funhouse. Blah. My opinion, that's just like a really disgusting theme. But I really liked it because it tickled my stomach throughout the ride. This is like the only coaster throughout the ride my stomach was just tickling. It was just so fun. Like throughout the whole ride your stomach is tickling nonstop, and that's what I really liked. And it's just really fun when it spins, and that drop is really good too. That drop surprised me a little bit. Yeah, overall just a fun roller coaster. That's it. Number 5 is a Great Bear. So yeah, this is the Parks B&M invert, and this was decent. This is good. That helix is very good. That drop is pretty good. That loop is pretty good. And it's also like the smoothest B&M I've ridden. Like I got no headbanging whatsoever. Other B&M inverts and floorlesses, they're always a tiny bit rattly, and you could get headbanging. Yeah, this is a little rattly because it's a B&M. All B&Ms have a slight rattle. That's just how the track is built. But this one was one of the better ones. Although it wasn't as intense, it was still really fun and scenic, just like Super Duper Looper. And I like how it interacts with Super Duper Looper. Now let's move on. And this is actually number 4. This might surprise some of you. It's actually Fahrenheit. Now, I don't hate this ride. There's just other rides that I ranked higher than this, and that I rank higher than this at this park. But I don't hate this at all. The lift hill was really good. I really like the vertical lift hill. And when you're sitting in the back on the beyond 90-degree drop, you get okay airtime and a pretty good stomach hop. But like not like Maverick. That's an insane stomach hop. That beyond vertical drop. This doesn't give as much. I don't know why. And like the inversions kind of disappointed me a little bit. They weren't as great as I expected. And it has a rattle throughout the ride. I've noticed it has a rattle. And I like that pop of ejector airtime. Not the strongest, but it's pretty good ejector. But there were just rides that I ranked higher than this in this park. I found this a tiny bit overrated. That's it. I don't hate this ride, I just find it a tiny bit overrated. Now next was probably the biggest surprise for me. This is actually Comet. Now, this might seem to you as just an old, classic, vintage wooden coaster, but it's more than that. Here's why I like this ride so much. So when you're in the station, those lap bars on these trains, they don't come to you. They don't go down at all. They're just up the whole time. And, like, probably the person with the biggest thighs, the lap bar won't even get to him. Because it just doesn't go down at all. It's, like, so much better than the Morgan lap bars. Plus, even though the ride ops in the station do force you to tighten your seatbelts, and then they dispatch the train, but then throughout the ride, those seatbelts, you could untighten them on the lift hill, and then when you're sitting on the back, on those drops, you get insane stomach hop, even though it's not that steep. You get insane stomach hop, and you are standing up and you are floating, and it is amazing. And all those drops, you are just getting so much airtime, you are standing up and you are floating. Plus, I found this to be also surprisingly very intense, and also, even though it's a vintage old PTC wooden coaster, this was glossy smooth. No kidding. I found this actually surprisingly to be smoother than El Toro, and that's a 2006 Intamin prefab wooden coaster. But it really surprised me. It's glossy smooth. You jump out of your seat so much, even more than the Morgan, like you're standing up, and it is intense. And it really surprised me. So now we're moving on. Number 2 is actually Storm Runner. So yeah, this is probably the best Intamin accelerator coaster. This is better than King Ka for sure, because like it's glossy smooth, and that launch is super forceful. That top end is really forceful, and that drop is not that great. The drop I was kind of disappointed by a little bit, but the rest of the ride is amazing. Those inversions are super intense. They're super fun. It throws you around, which I like that in a roller coaster, where it throws you around in a good way, not like Wild Mouse where it slams you around. I like when it just throws you around a little bit. And the end part reminded me of Maverick. So it was really intense. It was really, really fun. Really good Intamin coaster. And now, what could number 1 be? Number 1 is, of course, it's Sky Rush. Probably no surprise. What an insane roller coaster. Like, that drop actually is not as great as people say it is. That drop is okay. I got okay airtime, and I got no stomach feeling, even though I sat in the back, because those feelings are usually in the back when I get with my stomach. The drop was a little underwhelming, but the ride is insane. It is so intense. You get crazy ejector airtime throughout the ride. Now, there's something else I have to talk about, is the restraints. Like, some people say it's super painful. I only found it to really be painful on that last airtime hill, because throughout the ride, yes, like, you still got airtime, okay? It's not like Superman the Ride, where those restraints are big, they hurt even more, and you don't get any airtime. Here, they feel tight, and they could be pressuring and a tiny bit uncomfortable throughout the whole ride, but you still get really good ejector. You get airtime, alright? It's only with that last airtime hill you try to get airtime, but you really don't. It's only that last hill near Comet where it's actually painful. And I have not experienced a wing seat because I heard that was bad. So maybe the wing seats are even worse, so I didn't even bother doing that. But this is probably one of the best roller coasters I've ever ridden in my life. It is intense, it has insane ejector airtime, and I just put aside that last airtime hill, man. Look, you want to experience a fast-paced, intense ejector airtime coaster, but there is one painful thing in the end. Like, who cares? I don't really mind that last painful hill. And those restraints are actually good. They're very small. They give you a lot of really good room. So yeah, that concludes my video on Hershypark. And my next video is probably going to be ranking all the coasters at Great Adventure. I'm still figuring out that one. Well, yeah, and just as a review in this park is probably one of the best amusement parks I've ever been to. Amazing lineup. And stay tuned for probably, I can't promise it, all coasters ranked at Great Adventure. Bye-bye.